Are you that girl? That girl that always has to have the last word or always has to be in control of every situation? Or are you that girl that just talks over everyone? I hope you're, and you're not. You're not, Kathy. I promise you're not that girl. But we're going to talk about that girl. And actually, we're going to try to make it a positive thing and not just about don't be that girl, but don't be that girl.
Mhm.
Instead, be that girl that's a different way. So
Mm.
that's going to be our topic today. I hope you'll hang around and stick with us while we talk about that. Welcome to Looking Up. This is a podcast for Christian women. I am Carla Moore, and with me is my friend Kathy Pollard. She is up in her library today. You look very studious today.
Well, thanks. I try. I haven't read any of those books behind me.
But they look really good.
Well, that's the
That's
important
the
part.
important thing, right? Yeah. How's everything going in Bowling Green, Kentucky?
It's going good. Here we are, still worlds apart. When are you coming
I'm so
home?
ready to come home.
When is it?
This is this is Thursday. We come home on Tuesday.
So you'll still
This
be
has
gone
been
for
a
yeah.
long trip. It's been
Mm,
a long trip. It's been
yeah.
really good, but it's been really long.
Yeah, I feel like you've been there forever.
Yeah. I tried to count up. I think we've been in 10 different hotels, which that wears on you after a while,
Oh,
just
yeah.
packing up and moving and packing up and moving. But we are here, we're in Rome right now, and we'll stay here, I think 6 nights. So at least we get to unpack our suitcases and get a little bit comfortable
Yeah. Hang something
instead
up
of,
and
yeah,
wash your
yeah.
clothes.
Yes, definitely that there's some of that. We splurged a little and sent out some laundry to
Hmm.
have it done because I wanted to come home in my clean sweatsuit that I wear on the plane because I didn't want to wear what I wore on the way over, put it back on after that 36 hours of wearing
It's so
it.
grungy after that kind of
Yeah,
travel. Ugh.
airport germs, they're
Yeah.
just gross. And we had two group flights. Group flight, like, so we all met in Istanbul and then we drove, made our way down and then we flew from Izmir to Athens as a group, 44 of us. And you've done those group flights, so it's grueling to
Mhm.
make sure that everybody, you
Yeah.
know, checks in and has the right size luggage and all that. And I misspelled Jeff Jenkins' name on his ticket.
How'd you spell it?
It's well, he's Jeffrey, not Jeffrey.
Oh, his full name.
And so, I check and recheck and check and recheck and recheck. And I missed it. And so I was sweating that one because, they always tell you your passport name has to be the exact name on the ticket, but I guess the same thing happened to them. They didn't, we were, I contacted our agent, asked her to check into it, and she said it won't be a problem. But as he's up at the counter checking in, I'm back there going, just waiting to see if they say, you're out. But anyway, we flew as a
Oh,
group from Izmir to Athens and then Athens to Rome a few days later. So here we are in Rome. But yeah, it was those group flights are not fun.
no, no, it's hard enough when you're just by yourself, you and your spouse,
Being
trying to keep up
responsible
with
for yourself.
everything. And yeah, at
Yeah.
least you can just go to sleep when you're tired.
Yeah.
When you're herding 44 other people, then
Yeah. But
it's
it's
hard.
been good. We've had great people. Always have great people.
Well, good, good.
I think
Well, I
everybody's
guess,
ready to go home though.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, for some reason, when you first left, I thought this was a cruise, but this is all overland.
Well, there was supposed to be a small short cruise between Izmir and Athens.
Mm,
That was how we were originally going to get from one side to the other, but it sold out and there was a misunderstanding with the agency we work with. And so we ended up changing it to a flight, which was faster, but
mm,
not as much fun. So
yeah.
anyway,
Okay.
you said something about sleeping, and I meant to tell you about this last week and I forgot. But when I get in the bus and I sit up there with John, he sits on the front row because the guide that we're always working with is on the other side of the front row. And so I'm blessed because we both tend to get car sick, but it puts me right to sleep. And sometimes when the guide is droning on and on about the third largest city and whatever, and John
Third.
doesn't drone. Of course, John doesn't drone, but sometimes does talk a lot on the microphone and it puts me to sleep. So this is what I was going to tell you about last week that was humiliating. So I worry sometimes about falling asleep and then your mouth hangs open and maybe you drool or whatever.
Mhm.
And so I'm conscious of that. And of course, Jeff Jenkins is on the other side of John now because the guide is in the very front seat, then me, then John and Jeff, and Brian is sitting on the other side of Jeff. And then of course people all around us. And so I'm conscious of that and I try to like turn my head because I know I'm gonna fall asleep. I turn my head to where like I'm not gonna be like that. But sometimes that happens anyway. And so I don't remember where we were. I've blocked it from my memory because this is humiliating. But I woke myself up with one of those and it was quiet on the bus. And I said, John, was that you? He said, no, that
In a
was very
bus.
definitely you. And I know everyone around me heard it because it was very loud, but everyone was nice and did not, look at me. Nobody has made the little noises to me since then. But I mean,
Hey, we've all been there.
I have to out with it because it makes me feel better to out myself than for someone else to be saying, "Hey, did you hear about what Carla did on the bus the other day?" So humiliating. It was very
Oh,
embarrassing.
me. Oh, me. Did I ever tell you my mother did that at the Faulkner lectureship?
No.
Yes. And,
In a lecture?
this is timely because the Faulkner lectures just happened this week. Neil just got back from it yesterday.
Mhm.
But yes, during a lecture, we were all in the rotunda, and I was a student at the time. And mom and dad came up and visited for the lectures, and she fell asleep smack dab in the middle of a lecture. And she did that thing where her head jerked back and she went at the same time. And it woke her up, like her head snapped back forward, and she was so embarrassed, she got up and walked out.
I'm sure she appreciates you telling it about it now.
Well, I was embarrassed too because I was a college kid, so I'm like, mother. Oh no.
Well,
So
then
they were
that
all
makes
trying to keep it together the rest of that session.
well, that makes me think about the time Carl did it in chapel. Remember?
Yes. Yes.
And
It's
it
a
was
family
during a
thing.
prayer, and he tried to cover it up.
Oh, we're classy like that.
I just remember hearing a oh, you clear your throat like that
Yeah.
that really wasn't a snort. That was a all right.
Speaking. Do you
What?
remember? I don't remember who was speaking
Oh,
at
it was during a prayer
Oh no.
because we after that we're all trying so hard not to just bust out
Oh
laughing in the middle of a
no.
prayer.
At least he wasn't leading the prayer. I've shared how Neil literally fell asleep leading the prayer.
I don't remember that.
Yes.
When did that
We were
happen?
at home. It was a family devotion when the boys were little, right before bed, and we were all in a circle and Neil was praying and we all had our head down and our eyes closed, and then he paused in the middle of a sentence and it just got longer and longer, and we all were finally, opening one eye and looking at him, and he's going,
Poor guy.
oh, yeah,
Well, that was a bit of a meander off. Hey, did you
it
know
was.
that the word meander comes from a river, meander in
Oh, that
Greece?
makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense because the rivers kind of wind around. Huh.
So that's where that word comes from. That's your
I like that. Thank
word of
you
the
for
week. Yeah.
enlightening us today.
Yeah. Enlightening you on
And
several
we
things.
bring value to this podcast.
Yeah. One other thing that
So,
happened that I was going to tell you
go
about
ahead.
is that we got stuck in an elevator in Pamukkale. And did I tell you about this?
No.
I didn't
Yes.
tell about it. I did.
No, on the
But
podcast, no.
Okay, but did I tell you?
Thought you did. Go ahead and tell the story.
It must not be very memorable. It was,
You know me, I forget
uh,
everything.
it was me and John, David and Tina Harrell, and Wayne and Shanna K. Jones, and a couple we did not know. And we got on this elevator. It was tight. The elevators over here are tight.
Yeah,
And
you and
normally that doesn't
claustrophobia.
bother me. Yeah, normally that doesn't bother me, I guess, because it's quick.
Hmm.
But we got on and we kind of all shoved in. And it was a guy from Singapore, I remember, because before we got stuck, we asked him where he was from. He and his wife were there, and he pushed the button for us, and we went up like, I don't know, felt like 6 or 7 feet, and then bonk, and kind of ja like bounced down a little ways, and we all, and then it just stopped, and there was nothing, and
Cool.
we're all going, okay, take a deep breath. I'm thinking to myself, we were on the ground floor, and I said, well, at least we're only on the ground floor. And Shannon Kate goes, well, not really, because there was 2 floors below. There's like 2 basements. And so, I'm thinking, great. So we're
Thanks, Shana Kay.
30 feet off the ground. And the guy, yeah, that was against the where the buttons were, he was pushing every button. And I can see John's eyes getting kind of big, and he immediately pulls his phone out. He tries to call Brian, and Brian doesn't answer. And we're all, it's gonna be okay. They'll come. And so we pushed the button for help, and nothing happened at first, but pretty soon we heard people outside, knocking on the wall of the doors, and we could hear lots of commotion and noise. And finally, like, they pried it apart, and they're looking up at us and saying, don't panic, don't panic. And I'm thinking, I'm not panicking, but I want out of here, and I want to not fall on the way out of here. So anyway, they obviously, we survived because I'm here, but that was not fun. And it took me little while to want to get back on an elevator again.
The movies, the
Yeah.
panicking guy and everything.
Yeah, well, I could see in John's eyes, he didn't like it. And
Yeah.
he's not claustrophobic really, but he didn't like it. And
There was
nobody
that
else did
one
either.
time in Hezekiah's tunnel.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's when he realized he did have a touch of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so that's
Well,
the
I was gonna
extent of
tell you,
my
last
stories.
week I'm in, sorry, go ahead.
No, I said that's the extent of my stories. I'm done.
Oh, well, I'd mentioned that Christy and I spent a week in Florida and we had adventures and stuff. I'll just
Mm.
share one little thing. And that was our first full day on the beach. We loaded up our wagon with all of our stuff, umbrella, chairs, books, beach towels, all that kind of stuff. Where all we had to do was just walk right across the street. And we get to the beach, we start setting everything up. I had this great big beach bag that I always take, and the only thing in it was one beach towel. Everything else was gone. And I was like, what just happened? And so we turn around and we're looking, we had walked, a good piece down the beach to find a place where it was just for us. I'm looking all the way down the beach. There's no trail of things that had fallen out, and I thought somebody has reached in and stolen our stuff while we were walking, pulling that wagon behind us. And it starts dawning on me everything was in that bag. And Cheryl Turner gave me a little gray zipper pouch a few years ago that I take to the beach, and it had our condo key was in there, my rental car key was in there, my wallet with my driver's license and all my travel cash was in there. Like,
Thanks.
yeah, not to mention my chapstick. But so anyway, I'm just like, ah. So we start, Christy goes, stay here. I'll go look. And she takes off, and I'm watching her and I'm looking around, and I see her stopping and talking to people and asking them questions. And I finally think it could be anywhere between here and the condo. So I just looked around and I was like, there's nothing here that if somebody comes and steals it, it's a big deal, So I
Mhm.
just left, and I'm retracing my steps back across the street into the neighborhood, all the way back to the condo, nothing. And then I'm praying, and then I'm thinking, Neil's gonna kill me. Like, how does this even work? Do I call 911? Is there a lost and found at the beach? Like,
Did you
how
have
does
your
this?
phone?
I did have my phone. My phone was in my back pocket. And so anyway, I'm just panicking and I thought we have just started this trip and I've ruined it. Like this has completely changed the nature of this trip. And
Mm.
so anyway, I'm thinking, what am I going to do? And after a while, the phone rings and it's Christy and she goes, "We've got it. We've got it." And so I immediately started praying, oh, thank you, God. Thank you, God. And what had happened was it had tumbled. There's a tiny little parking lot at that part of the beach. And apparently we must have hit a rock or something, and the bulk of the stuff out of that bag just all tumbled out. How
Wow.
I never even felt that
Felt it.
happen,
Mhm.
I have no idea. But this little family, we think they're from Cuba, found it and stuck it in their car and went to the beach and started looking around for people that looked like they may have lost something. And they saw Christy going from person to person, and
Wow.
they went up to her and said, "Excuse me, are you missing some things?" And she went, "Yes." And they said, "Is
Wow.
your name Christy by any chance?" And she went, "Yes, yes." And they said, "We have your stuff." So,
Wow.
yeah.
So
Oh man.
thankful for honest people.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then I got pulled over by the cops on our trip. My
Speeding?
No, that was the first. The I saw the We were coming back from our paint class at night, and you can't really speed at all in this part of the road anyway. But I saw this little cop car sitting here, and I drove on past. And as soon as I passed it, I saw him like flip his lights on once, and then get in and turn around and went, "Aha! He got somebody."
Yeah.
And then he pulled in
Stud.
behind us. Christy had leaned her seat all the way back and she was resting her eyes. And I went, I'm getting pulled. He goes, "This guy looked like he was a child that came to my window." And he said, "Ma'am, did you know your headlights are not on?"
What you drive has automatic headlights, huh?
Yes,
Mm.
yes. I was so embarrassed. I could feel my cheeks getting hot. I was like, no. He said, "Didn't it look dark?" And I said, "No."
It always looks dark.
He said, "Well, sometimes when the valet parks your car, they mess with things and we hadn't used a valet." And I was like, "Well, no, it was all me." And he goes, "Do you mind?" And he reaches in and he like flips some on for me. And I'm going, "Oh my goodness." He thinks I'm like this decrepit old lady. And he said, "Be careful. Have a good night." And I was like, "Thank you."
Thanks. Oh, that's embarrassing.
And then the only other thing I'll say, then we had parked in this little parking spot at the beach and the car, we were getting ready to leave and a car was waiting on us. Parking spots are limited and prime. So there's a car waiting on us. And this was early on in the trip. My car is not responding. It's a rental. It's not responding. I'm putting it in reverse and I'm going, "What's the deal?" I put it back in park, press the gas. Nothing's happening. We're just sitting there. And meanwhile, this car is not only waiting for a spot, but now there's other cars behind it just trying to get in. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm holding everybody up and I'm going, and I'm kind of looking out the window going, "Sorry, sorry." And I'm like envisioning myself having to get out and going, "I don't know what's wrong with my car." Well, come to find out, the parking brake, like the emergency brake, is this little tiny lever next to the gear shift thing, and you just barely have to touch it, and it puts that parking brake on. And somehow we must have bumped it, and that's what had happened. But it kept happening during the trip. But at least I knew what to look for. But I was so embarrassed. And finally, all these little things kept happening, and I finally started saying, "It's hard being Neil," because I was telling
He's the
Christy,
one that does all that.
usually when we go on beach trips, he takes care of all the things,
Mm.
the rental car, carrying the luggage up and down the stair, all that stuff. He does all of that. Well, I was doing that on this trip, and I was like, "It's hard being Neil."
Well, yeah. Was the police officer, you said he was young. Was he cute too?
I mean, no.
Okay, so it wasn't
I'm not
worse.
trying to be mean, but it wasn't. I mean, I'm sure he was to somebody.
That's,
He
that's a
was
very
very
kind
clean
answer.
cut, very mannerly,
Mm-hmm.
ma'am, kind of stuff. But he looked like
Yeah.
he was about, he looked 17. He was probably 19. I don't know.
Well, You're becoming a little old lady. Can't drive your car
Yes.
anymore. What is it
Yeah.
about cars though? You get used to, I can't drive without a backup camera now. I mean, I just can't.
I
Well,
never
I
use mine. I don't
can.
trust it.
You don't?
No, I always look over my shoulder.
Well, I do that too, but like I'm so nervous if I don't have a backup camera in a parking lot. I'm like, I
Mm,
can't judge the distance like I used to. I guess it's just one of those muscles that goes out of it, it goes to waste if you don't use it. So,
yeah. Yeah.
well,
Mm.
I'm glad you made it back in one piece.
Thank you. Yesterday I had coffee with Jennifer Harrison. We hadn't done that in a while. And
Hmm.
Neil was on his way back, so I told him I'm not going to stay very long because, I want to get back and make sure I'm home to see you and blah, blah, blah. And we ended up, she got a call from FCA where her kids go to school about her son and needed to go pick him up. And I was like, oh, we just got here, And so anyway, I'm looking at the time. We'd already been there for over 2 hours.
Ooh,
You
so
know
much
how
for
when you
getting
get
home
to
early, huh?
talking and yeah, catching up and stuff. So enjoyed that. But yeah, stayed a lot
Okay.
longer than and tonight we're playing pickleball with Barrett and Hillary. And this is our first, like Neil and I playing with another couple.
Hmm.
And Barrett is already talking smack. And he's never even played pickleball, but he was on the tennis team in high school. His dad was a tennis coach.
Hmm.
He was like, yeah, you pretty much don't have a chance against
Does he
me.
know the rules though?
I don't think so. I mean, unless he's going to look them up ahead of time and read them.
So he's going down if he doesn't know the rules because the
That's
rules
what
are
Neil
not the
said.
same
The
as
only thing
tennis.
working in our favor is that in the very beginning, he won't know what he's doing.
Okay. Is it you and Hillary against Neil and Barrett, or is it you and
Probably
Neil?
not. Probably not, because neither she nor I are very good. We do a lot of laughing.
You heard it here, Hillary.
That's right. So we'll probably do a couple. I'm guessing. I mean, we might do boys against girls just for fun, but
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
assuming it'll be couple against couple. So
Well, that'll be fun.
yeah,
Good for you. Well,
thanks.
I only have, I don't really have much more. The only thing I was going to tell you about was our dinner last night. One of the things that was included was a dinner it was going to be, I thought it was going to be at a pizza place, but it turned out to be, I'm trying to think if it was the place where we went when you were here, but it was a one, two, three, four, five, six, 7 course meal.
Oh,
Yeah. And when we got there, everybody sat down, we all spread out, and they put bruschetta on the table
mm,
with olive oil, balsamic vinegar, a spicy like pepper olive oil. So we tried all those
mm,
different ones. And then while
yum.
we were eating that bruschetta, they brought out a caprese. Is that how you say it? Caprese salad.
Yeah,
Caprese.
tomatoes and mozzarella.
Tomatoes and basil,
Mm,
with fresh
mm,
mozzarella. That was good. And then they brought out pizza margarita, and it's the good kind of, Naples type pizza.
nice.
But we only got one per table. That was the only bad thing.
Well, if
And
it's
then they
seven
brought
course,
out, yeah, yeah, I know, but that's what I wanted the most of. And then they
yeah.
brought out lasagna,
Wow.
and it was pretty good. It wasn't as good as some that I've had. And then they brought out roasted potatoes. Remember those?
Hmm.
In Italy, that I don't know what it is that they do, but they're just always better. Just
Like
chunks of
butter.
potato that's, I guess it's olive oil. There's rosemary,
Mm.
perfectly salted. They're crisp. They're so good. And then they brought out this meat dish that I've never had before, and I don't know exactly what it's called. I'll try to figure it out before next week if I remember to post anything. But it was like real thin sliced meat
Hmm.
stewed in little cherry tomatoes and arugula and something else in
Yum.
there. And it was really good. And then we had tiramisu, and it was good.
Tiramisu for dessert. Mm,
Yes, it was really
that
good.
sounds amazing.
Yep. But that's it. That's all I have.
Yeah, I guess I should explain why I'm upstairs in the library.
Yeah.
Chelsea's sister Cheyenne is staying with us for a week to visit Gary and Chelsea, not us.
Yeah.
And her youngest daughter, a baby girl who's 7 months old, and the sweetest, happiest baby I've ever met in my life. I mean,
Mm.
meeting me for the first time, as a little baby. I started talking to her and she just smiled real big and she reached out her little hand and started wiggling her fingers, and every single time I've talked to her, she just grins and reaches out her hand. And I was telling Neil on the phone, when you get here and meet this baby, you're gonna fall in love. I mean, she's the
Mm.
cutest little sweetest baby.
I bet she loves Atlas.
Yeah, they're getting some cousin time this week. But anyway, she's in the bedroom on the main floor, which is
Mhm.
normally where I record. And probably could have. I just didn't want to, first of all, I didn't
Mhm.
want her to feel like she couldn't move around. And secondly, I didn't want to feel self-conscious.
Yeah.
So, so
Yeah.
I'm hiding out up here in the library.
Yeah. Well, you look very studious and scholarly, so
Thank you.
it's working in your favor.
Thanks.
Alrighty, we ready?
Yes, I'd like to find out if I'm that girl or that girl.
Okay. Well, okay. So don't be that girl or be that girl,
Hmm.
which really we want to talk about be that girl. But before we talk about be that girl, we have to talk about don't be that girl.
Yeah. It depends on
You
what
know,
day it is, and what the
yeah,
weather's like and what I've had to eat.
yeah, and hormones, always hormones.
All right.
So, anytime this has been something that's been in my list of possible podcast topics for, I don't know, a long time. And something happened while we were out last week that made me kind of revisit it in my mind. There was a girl, I don't remember what site we were at. It was crowded. I want to say it was, I don't know. It was crowded. Everywhere's crowded that you go. And if you want to get a good picture, you kind of have to worm your way into the fence line or whatever. And that's what she was doing, but she was being pretty ruthless about it, like shoving her way through. And
Hmm.
that doesn't bring out the best in me, but
Mm.
she's pushing her way through and not being very nice and kind of had this ugly look on her face. And obviously it's not somebody I know, somebody from somewhere around here, I guess. But then she got herself up against the fence line. It was in at the Acropolis. She
Okay.
got up there and then she turned around and she pulled her phone out and she had just the most beautiful smile on her face as she got a picture of herself.
Mm.
And I thought, she's one of those girls that is not, she is, what she looks like in that picture is not representing who she really is. And
Mhm.
so it just kind of got me to thinking about, um, don't be that girl. I don't want to be that
Carla,
girl.
I saw that at a wedding. I saw that at a wedding. When the pictures were going on afterwards, the bride kept trying to get the groom to pose a certain way, and she was like scowling at him and fussing at him, and no, 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 I want us to, I want to, that kind of stuff. And then when the camera came out, she was,
So
yeah,
that's not a
ugh.
good look.
No,
Yeah. And you remember it,
yeah,
you know, it's memorable.
hmm,
So it just kind of got me to thinking about it. Well, I I always Google my topic, when I come up with a name for it or whatever. I just look to
you're
see what's
awfully
out.
good at Googling.
Yes, I'm a good Googler. And apparently it's a big thing on social media. That girl is, when I think of that girl, it makes me think of that old sitcom from back in the 60s or whenever it was with Marlo Thomas and she had the little bouncy hairdo. And, we used to, that's probably further back than you,
I actually
even though
don't
I'm
know.
not that many years older than you.
I don't know what you're talking
I,
about, but I do know that song. Who's that girl?
yeah, this is not that. This is longer ago than that. So I looked it up, and that girl refers to a social media lifestyle trend that refers to women who prioritize wellness, productivity, beauty, and mindfulness. And I thought, well, that doesn't sound all that bad.
Hmm.
But, when you think about prioritizing some of those things over the more beautiful spiritual qualities, which is kind of where I wanted to go with that. So, I sent you that, and I'm interested to hear what you think about this because we didn't really talk a whole lot about which direction to go. But I like that because, we have different thoughts about things. But don't be that girl. These are the kind of some of the areas that I thought of. Don't be that girl whose mood determines everyone else's. And I know I've talked before about when I worked at the bank there, almost, oh, wow, 40 years ago. Our head teller, I just remember every morning she would walk around the corner to come in and we would all look down And depending on the look on her face, we knew it was going to be a good day or a bad day.
Oh,
And I
no.
thought, ooh, that taught me a good lesson though, not to be that
Yeah.
girl. And then don't be that girl that's critical of every person in every situation. We all know people that they're just, it doesn't matter what's going on, they're going to find something wrong or something to be critical about or something to say something snarky about. Don't be that girl. Don't be that girl that finds something offensive in every situation and says so. It's one thing. I think there might be some situation where we feel, I don't even like the word being offended because it's
Mhm.
just overused, but there's people who are going to be offended about everything and then they're going to tell you all about it. Here's another one. Don't be that girl that tends to be closer to the guys, the husbands, than they are
Mhm.
to the wives.
Mhm.
And, you know, I'm probably one of those girls that sometimes I'm more interested in the guys' conversations than I am the girls. So I kind of get this in on one level, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the kind of girl that is sweet to all the men
Mhm.
and not so much to all the women.
Mhm. Doesn't
And
have
maybe
time for
that,
that. Mhm.
yeah, maybe that reveals something about me. I don't know, but don't be that girl. There's not a woman around that enjoys that kind of thing. Don't be that girl that has to be the expert in all situations, you know, the one that always has all the answers. Don't be that girl that needs to always be right. Don't be that girl that talks over everyone else. Don't be that girl that picks apart what everyone else is saying. Don't be that girl that complains. I'm being pretty negative here. Sorry. Don't be that not me girl. Not me. I'm not going to do that. I would never do that. I'm not going to
Mhm.
help, in that menial chore or whatever. Don't be that girl that never asks it for advice, but always is willing to give the advice. And then don't be that girl that doesn't ask questions about other people, but will talk all day long about herself. So that's a
Mm.
lot of negativity there.
Yeah, I think I only had like 4, and I think you've mentioned most of them.
Well, that's not the whole conversation. That was just,
Y Yeah.
kind of get the conversation flowing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we didn't talk about it at all, actually.
Yeah. Well, so what did
I
you write down?
What's that?
What did you write down?
I have, don't be that girl that's always caught up in drama.
Yeah.
Every single time you have a conversation with them, they've got something going on with somebody, and it's like, it's always something, always drama.
Hmm.
Don't be that girl that's always questioning authority, doesn't like to be told what to do or how to do it. And
Hmm.
maybe not they don't question the authority itself, but they question the authority to everybody else, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Don't be that girl who's always the source of gossip. And then the one I really wanted to camp out on is you kind of mentioned it in multiple ways. Don't be that girl that's never satisfied. She's just hard to
Mm-hmm.
please. Even when her husband tries to do something nice, he doesn't do it right or doesn't pay it close enough attention and got the wrong kind or did it the wrong, that don't be that girl.
Hmm.
That's all I had for the negative.
Well, I mean, we're thinking the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I just mainly just wanted to kind of give some examples of, there's a lot of that girl type situations that we don't enjoy being around. And, not even coming from the Christian standpoint of not being the kind of person that doesn't bring out the best in others, or the kind of person that points others to the Lord, or the kind of person that realizes the blessing of being a Christian, but just a good human being that, makes other people happy and want to be, and, joyful and want to be around them.
Have you ever
Uh,
been in a situation where it's dawning on you, you are that girl?
yeah, yeah, I have.
I mean, I'm thinking about times when I've gotten a tiff with my husband and I know it is silly. But now I've backed myself into a corner and I can't back down, and it's
Mhm.
in my mind, I'm going, I would so hate to live with me, and just, I can feel it. I can feel it. And even to an extent, yesterday, I mentioned that I'd had coffee with Jennifer when she ended up having to get up and leave. I was feeling a little regretful because I'm sitting there going, I feel like I did all the talking. I feel like, I talked too much about myself and didn't like she was really good about asking questions and catching up on
Mhm.
certain things. And so it was, it's just one of those things where I thought, Rats. And most of it was even about my hair. We were talking about the whole ditching the dye thing, and I was like, oh, I talked too much about my hair, and I was that
Well,
girl.
yeah, and I get what you're saying, but I think for knowing Jennifer and knowing that she's the kind of person that genuinely is interested in other people, and so she was interested in wanting to ask about those things for you. So she's the kind of that girl that we want to be like, who's
In fact,
asking the
that's on my
question.
list. Yeah. Someone who genuinely cares is on my be that girl list. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, so I wouldn't beat yourself up about that for sure. Um, my most of mine when I realize I'm being that girl, it's usually here's an example. We were trying to choose a place to eat lunch the other day, and it was in Turkey still, and I just don't care much for Turkish food. I don't know. Not no nothing against it, but yeah, everybody has their likes and dislikes, and I was kind of over meatballs. I was just kind of done with meatballs and didn't really want to go to another Turkish place that had meatballs. And so it was just me.
Meatball.
They were not even the spicy
Not even
meatball.
the meatball.
No, not Italian meatballs. But so we were walking. It was just me and John and Brian. And I tend to, Brian sees the real me more than a lot of people do, probably. And we got to this place, and John is saying, well, it's got this, and maybe what do you think about this place? And he's trying to make me happy, and I was just kind of grouchy. And I was like, what? It's fine, whatever, fine. It's fine. I'm sure it's fine. When you say the word fine, a whole lot of times it's usually not fine.
Not fine. Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, even while I'm doing it, I'm thinking, you're being grouchy. Why? What is it? Why? And then, in the middle of it, you realize it and have to snap out of it. But yeah, I see that girl that the husband is trying to not placate, that's not the right word, but he's just trying to do something that'll
Maneuver.
satisfy me. What?
Maneuver that meandering attitude.
Yes, that's probably a good way of saying it. Although I
Yeah.
have to do that for him too sometimes, but
Yeah. My word is
I
nothing. Nothing. What is it? Nothing. What's the matter?
no,
Nothing.
no,
Nothing.
fine and nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
obviously
usually that
something.
it just means I can't figure out what's wrong with me. But anyway, yeah, usually for me, I know that I'm wearing a face that is not attractive, to say the least.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, what happens when we are that girl? What happens to the people around us? And, I think when I think of people who are being that girl, it puts me on edge. It just mainly it makes me not like that person,
Mhm.
but it makes me nervous too. It makes me nervous like there's, something's going to happen. She's going to go off, or she's going to be unhappy, or she's going to mess up the mood of the rest of the group or whatever. Even some, I think, make me even okay. So there's some what the definition that was talking about the lifestyle that they prioritize wellness and productivity and beauty and mindfulness. And I think all those are good things, but they also can make us compare ourselves to them and feel less than and just I don't know, just like I'm not as good as that person. And something that I was reading, it's a person that meditates outside and drinks something green every day, and just that person. And we all, I know you drink something green every day. You don't
I don't
meditate
know.
outside though.
No. No.
You meditate inside. But it was just one of those things like everybody wants to put on this display of
Hmm.
I'm this person that does everything healthfully, and I meditate and I pray and I journal, and we're all like, oh man, I wish I could be like her. And it's not really real. And it even made me think about a commercial that I see all the time back at home, and it's for the company called California Closets. Do y'all have those around you?
Oh,
And
I'm
there's
not.
one line in the commercial where she says, I just want the kind of closet that makes all my girlfriends jealous.
Oh
And I
no.
think,
Boo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just kind of nasty. I didn't like that.
Mm-mm.
So that's kind of what it made me think about. And there that made me think of, I don't know if you saw this little reel, if it came across your Facebook feed, but it was five little boys. I say little, they were probably like 10. And the caption was, surround yourself with this kind of people. And these five little boys are all sweaty. They have like paint on their face, like, like they're at it's not a football game, but like baseball and sports paint. And there's one little boy in the middle, and he's got this face like this hopeful face. And the four other boys around him they're all like pointing at him, and they're you can tell they're trying to capture the attention of somebody on the other side of the camera to this kid. And this kid is standing there with this hopeful face, and you see him, and all of a sudden this ball, the baseball, he catches the baseball, and the look on his face, he's like joy, he's just exploding with joy, and all of them just erupt, and they're yeah, and none of them even try to catch the ball,
I
which
love
is
that.
something interesting too. And they're all shaking him, and yeah. And
That just
I
gave me
watched it.
chills.
Did you
Yeah.
see it?
No, no, just listening to you describe it just gave me chills.
Well, I've watched it like 30 times, and I cry the whole time. And I think that's the kind of people that you want for your friends, that will cheer you on and want you to have something joyful happen to you. And so anyway, let's spend
Hmm,
the rest of the time
that's good.
talking about being that kind of a friend and that kind of person, being that girl. So there was a couple of different ways, and I know you've got some. In fact, I'm going to let you talk now because I've been talking too much.
The be
Positive
that
thing.
girl. Okay, well,
Be that.
be that girl who's still tenderhearted. And I think that when you think about the people that you're surrounded with, you can tell when somebody is tenderhearted and when they're not. And a lot of times it's understandable because of life circumstances and, the things we're exposed to and taken in on the daily. I think it can jade us and toughen us up and harden our hearts a little bit. But a tenderhearted person is a wonderful person to be around. And
Mhm.
just like cuts through all of that noise and knows how to see a person. And so I think that's a beautiful quality to have. Am I doing like all of them or just one at a time? What are we doing?
How many do you have?
Three.
Okay, do another one because I have two.
Okay. Um, and then be that person that's a breath of fresh air. And I was thinking about not the obnoxious kind, like, hello, here
The
I am in my
overwhelming fresh air.
here I am in my cheerful, joyful self.
Yeah.
But just that quiet, genuine, you know, um, like the opposite of all those things you just said. They're not always critical or negative, or they're just genuinely appreciative and pleasant to be around, you know, refreshing. Once you leave their presence, you just feel refreshed just because they're a breath of fresh air. And
Yeah.
their warmth, their smile, their kind of unrushed demeanor, their ability to listen, all of those things, I think, make somebody a breath of fresh air.
Mhm. Yeah, I like that. And I think someone like that doesn't feel the pressure to just be like a yes man or a yes woman.
Mhm.
Because sometimes I feel like I just agree. Sometimes because I don't know what to say, or I don't understand, and I don't want to ask any more questions because it might make me look dumb, or for whatever reason, I tend to just, yeah, 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 that's right. But then there's some who will say, well, what do you mean? I think Michelle Massey does this a lot. If she doesn't understand exactly what you're saying, she wants more clarity. And so she'll say, well, did you mean this? Or, um, it's hard to explain exactly what I mean, but I think of that as being someone who brings a breath of fresh air and adds color, because you don't always want someone that just agrees with everything you say. Not, I don't even mean that, not being disagreeable, but just gives you a different outlook, or gives you something else to think about. And so, yeah, I love that breath of fresh air. Good one.
Thanks.
Okay, so one of mine is to be the girl who sees the positive and speaks up. And this is an obvious one, seeing the positive, but not just seeing it, but speaks up.
I like that.
And this, the reason I thought about this was that the other day it was in Athens, but it was we're threatening rain all day, and we had carried around our umbrellas and stuff, and we went up on the Acropolis, no rain, went up on Mars Hill, no rain, and we got down to the bottom of Mars Hill, and it started raining. And I was standing with a friend, and both of us were saying, "Oh man," and my friend said, "I thought we were going to get lucky and not have any rain." And I wish I could remember who for sure said it. I think it was Bonnie Williams. Said we did get lucky. We just came down from the two places that we wanted to see the most, and there wasn't any rain up there. And she wasn't scolding us at all. She was just pointing out, we did get lucky. We didn't, you know what it's like. It's slippery up there. And we were worried about if rain came down. And so I thought, no,
Mm,
it's somebody who sees what's going on that's good and isn't afraid to interject and say, wait a minute, it was a good thing. And it doesn't even have to be interjecting something. It's somebody who just always has something kind and positive to say. I think of Tammy Hyde. She's one of those too. She has a kind word for everyone. And she has that positive, happy, smiling look on her face when visitors come in, whatever. So be the kind of person that sees the positive and speaks up. And it made me think about uh, Hebrews 10, and maybe taking this out of context just a little bit, but why should we be that way? And it talks about, because we have confidence, we have a new and living way, we have a great high priest, we have a full assurance of faith. And it goes on to say in verse 23, let us hold fast the confession of our hope, and let us consider how to stimulate one another to love and good works. And so I was thinking that that's kind of what she did. She was stimulating us to think about something in a positive way, not just letting our minds stay in that negative. It's raining. But, we went all this way today and didn't have any rain. And that word stimulate means to stir up and spur on. It's kind of an intense word. It's the only other time it's used in the New Testament is Paul and Barnabas. That the sharp disagreement is that word. So I know that here it's not meant in a negative sense, but you know, I I hope and I hope that I provide that for people. And it's hard to do because you don't
mm,
want to, like you said, you don't want to seem disagreeable, or you also don't want to come across as someone who's, wait a minute, I don't, it's takes a gentle way of saying something kind and encouraging if you're sort of gently disagreeing with someone, or it's not a rebuke, just a little bit of gentle encouragement, correction. So I
Well,
think
if
about
that's
those.
your mindset and you tend to look on the bright side, if you will, and speak positive things, then people won't feel like you're correcting them.
Yeah,
If that's
that's
just
a
who
good
you
way.
are, you know. But if you only do that when somebody says something, then you're going to look like you're trying to be a little self-righteous.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's really good. When you said that Tammy Hyde always has a good word to say to people, I was thinking how that would be good too if it's about people.
Yeah,
You know, when a conversation is going on about somebody who's not present, be that girl who always turns it around and says, well, wait a minute. You know, I love the fact that they, or yeah, but I appreciate the fact that they, be turn that conversation around and be the person that interjects something positive and point out something positive about a situation or people who aren't even in the room.
yeah, good point. Okay, what's your third one?
My third one is be that girl who genuinely cares. And what made me think about this is how those people that we mentioned this, I think, on a recent episode. They are willing to be inconvenienced. They're willing
Hmm.
to be step out of their comfort zone for the sake of somebody else. And I mentioned Kim Moyers, and it's not that it's because she doesn't lead a busy life. It's not because she doesn't have responsibilities and pressures and schedules, and she just genuinely cares. And I think that's the difference is we all have things to do. we all have a thing in mind for our day. Like today I need to blah, blah, blah. And today I need to, I'm trying to blah, blah, blah. We all have the urgent, just like you were talking about, that girl prioritizes mindfulness or well-being, or there's nothing wrong with prioritizing well-being unless you're putting it above people. And,
Hmm.
to me, that's the person who genuinely cares can see the difference and to know I might have all these urgencies crowding in that I think I have to get done, but this opportunity just came up and this involves a relationship. This
Hmm.
involves serving someone. And the ability to see the difference is someone who genuinely cares. And I can think about, times when I handled it well. Today I really needed to, I feel like I really wanted to do this, but something came up and I just put that aside. And you never regret doing that.
Yeah.
It might make things a little crunchy for you, but usually those things you're putting off in the big picture don't matter.
Hmm.
And anytime you take time for people, it always matters. And then there have
Hmm.
been times, more times than I want to admit, where I did choose the urgent over the people opportunity and pillowed my head that night with regret. I mean, even recently, I was finally tackling my refrigerator. It was scary.
My least favorite job.
Oh my. And, Neil was coming home with some things from Costco, and I knew I'd been cramming things in that fridge for months. And it was one of those things where I was like, every time I'd open the door, I'd think, I really need to clean out this fridge, but I don't have time today. I don't have, because I know
Mhm.
it's going to be a big deal. And Neil was coming home with a bunch of stuff from Costco, and I was like, where are we going to even put it? So I did the whole thing. I pulled every single item out of
Ugh.
my fridge. And just to give you some idea, I had old jams and jellies up there that I'd canned that had been there for so long, they were sticking to the shelf.
Yeah.
Like I'm like wrestling with it, trying to break it away from the shelf.
Yep.
And I filled the entire top shelf of my dishwasher with jars that I emptied out, like things
Mhm.
that I had canned and stuff that had been in there ignored. And I'm looking at all that stuff going, all that was in my fridge,
Then
stuff.
you're
So
tempted to
anyway,
throw away the container.
yeah, and pulling out all the bins and scrubbing I was doing the whole shebang. Emily called me smack dab in the middle of that, my daughter-in-law Emily, and said, I'm on my way to there's some kind of consignment event, like it's a seasonal thing with the kids, and I know this is last minute, but do you want to come and hang out with me?
Mm.
And she, to my knowledge, has never asked me to do that.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, I would, but I'm smack dab in the middle of cleaning out my fridge. I've been putting it off for so long. And she was like, that's okay. I knew it. And I'm telling you, as happy as I was to have cleaned out that fridge finally,
Mhm.
I knew I made the wrong call.
Yeah.
You know, that refrigerator would have been there
Hmm.
waiting on me. And that opportunity to hang out with Emily and the kids, you know,
Yeah.
that would have been a more special moment. And so it's stuff like that, to
Mhm.
be the ability to see the urgent over the relationship. And I think that in class last night, um, we were talking about Philippians, and Chris Young was teaching, and he was in the beginning, he was talking about Paul's use of the words, the affection of Christ and growing in love. And he talked about what does that even look like? And one conversation and one thing thought just led to another, and I thought that's what I'm talking about is in the consider Paul's circumstance when he was writing that letter.
Hmm.
And was he prioritizing his own well-being? No. He was thinking about everybody else because in the very end, Chris pointed out that he was talking about, the people that greet you, even the people in this, the guards in this house or something, like he had converted his
Hmm.
own prison guards in his time there. He was prioritizing people because he genuinely cared. So I feel like that was a little wordier than I meant it to be, but be that
No, I
girl.
love it. And I love that example too. And even sometimes, like you said, even when you're saying it, you know it's the wrong decision.
Hmm.
And so why don't we pay attention to that? I mean, I know I've been there and done that, and it's selfish. I think on my part, anyway, some of the situations I'm thinking of in my past, it's selfish. I have the way of my mind, this is how today was going to go, and don't change that. And maybe that's a personality quirk of mine, but it's kind of a selfish thing on my part, not wanting. I mean, obviously, if it's somebody in need, yeah, I'm gonna do that. But if it's um a choice that yeah, it's a selfish thing for me. So
Well, I think that ultimately we're not trying to not care and not see the priority. We just don't. I mean, I think we need to pray for the clarity and wisdom to be intentional about it and to see ourselves when we're that girl versus that girl,
mhm,
and not that there's anything wrong with me cleaning out my fridge. And, I'm happy that I did it. It needed it. But I would have been happier and it would have been more meaningful for me to choose Emily and time with
yeah,
her. And I know that. And even and maybe justifying, well, the things that I have to do today are important. I'm involved with this and this and I have to get it done. Maybe so, but this would have been more important. And the
mhm,
ability to see in the grand scheme of things, people always matter, right? Relationships always trump, even worthwhile good things that we're involved in.
yeah,
People in your church family, people in your own family, people that you're trying to reach out to, your neighbors, people always trump, relationships always trump. And I
and God
think
will bless
how
that.
hard is it to keep that in the forefront of our minds when we're so pulled in all these different directions and we've got all these things that we're committed to and involved in and
Yeah,
just need to pray
yeah,
about it.
yeah. And I didn't mean to imply that you were being selfish. I'm just
Oh, I
thinking
know.
while you're
I know.
talking that
No, I was.
I
You were right.
well, I mean, that would be something you would know, but I just know there have been times that like somebody will say, "What are you doing Friday?" And I'll be like, "Well, I mean, I don't like it being
Why?
phrased that way." Yeah, I
Yeah,
would
you
rather say,
asked.
"Hey, I want to hear, hey, do you want to I'm going to such and such on Friday. Would you like to go along?" Rather than what are you doing on Friday? Because, well, that depends um
Mhm.
on what it is that you're about to ask me.
Yeah.
So, I just know that I have issues with that. So I need to be better about that. Okay, my last one is to be that girl who chooses God's will and not the world's will. Choose the Lord's will, not the world's will. Someone who chooses peace instead of drama, like you were talking about, the one who thrives on drama, one who chooses verbal encouragement over that inside criticism. Maybe somebody that says something encouraging to you instead of in her mind is going
Like, I'm writing that one down. Chooses verbal encouragement over the inner
criticism
criticism.
or quiet criticism. Yeah.
Hmm.
Someone who chooses humility over self-promotion, someone who
Oh,
chooses
slow
joy.
down.
Well, you could plug in whatever here.
Yeah, that's so good though.
Someone who chooses humility over self-promotion,
Hmm.
and someone who chooses joy for you rather than jealousy, which is that's, you know, thinking about those little boys with the baseball. All of those little boys could have wanted to catch that baseball themselves, but they were so thrilled for their friend that he caught it. And I mean, I get tears in my eyes even thinking about it again. I'm going to send it to you as soon as we get off here.
Okay.
It's just there are certain people who choose, they choose their words carefully. You can see them when they're talking to you, choosing their words carefully.
Mhm.
What rather than, what I do sometimes is bleh. And that always, being around a person like that always makes me want to choose my words carefully. And I don't mean that in a bad way because, sometimes you have to choose your words because they're going to be taken the wrong way. I'm talking about choosing them to be kind to someone. I think Maria Kallenbach, I don't know if you know her, how well you know her. She's one immediately came to mind. Maria
Yeah.
Kallenbach and
I know
Dina
who
Meyer.
she is, but I don't know her well.
Yeah. But and Dina Myers too. I think, she
Mhm.
just chooses to be one of those who verbally encourages you, no
Mhm.
matter what she's got going on in her own life. And that kind of person, you end up wanting to be like them because it's like Paul says, follow me as I follow the Lord, be like me as I'm like the Lord.
Mhm.
And that made me think of is it Romans 12? Romans 10 that talks about being not being transformed, not not being conformed, but being transformed. Don't be conformed to the
Transformed.
world, but being
Mhm.
transformed. And that means to change inwardly. It's a continuing process of transformation accomplished by an inner renewal of the mind, by a resistance. I love this, by a resistance to the influence of the world.
Mm,
And I mean, I just think choosing God's will over the world's influence, being more influenced by the Lord than we are by the world, and being more influenced by the word than we are by the world. And it's so hard because we live in the world. We're bombarded by all of the fashion magazines and all of the, make your home look like this. We all want pleasant surroundings. We want to look nice. But, if we're choosing all of that worldly stuff and the worldly tendency to criticize and the worldly,
mm,
promote yourself, and that you and I both know we have to do some of that. You have to do it for the Bible marking. I have to do it for the Bible writing, because you want people to know about it. And I think that we're pointing people to God, but in some ways you have to put yourself out there to
mhm,
draw attention to that. And it's hard to know that balance,
mhm.
um, because we want to be humble like God wants us to be humble. Anyway, so I just think let's be that girl that makes the right choice of all of the good things over all of the bad things. And that's covers a lot of area there.
Yeah, that is so good. And the three that I wrote down that you said, I mean, even if we just camped out there, and all of these affect our relationships with other people. That's what that girl is all about, is how you
Yeah.
come across and how you deal with other people. But the choose verbal encouragement over quiet criticism, choose humility over self-promotion, and choose joy over jealousy. It's all that others first
Hmm.
mentality of Philippians 2. And what a difference that would make, not just for other people, but for our own selves.
Yeah.
And, an ability for the heart check and peace and, to tag along with our recent humility episode, the freedom that comes from, because these take humility, you know,
Mm. Yeah.
the freedom and peace that come from that, not just the fact that you'll be somebody that people appreciate being
Mm.
around and
Yeah. Yep.
enjoy being around and
Yeah.
representing Christ.
I'm sorry.
Bless you.
Tickle.
Oh,
Okay.
is that a cough? Never mind. I
It's
take back my bless you.
no, I need okay, you're gonna have to talk for a minute while I swig out of my giant bottle of Coke Zero.
Well, we keep using the word intention on this podcast because that's what it always comes down to. Like I was saying, it's not that we intend to be that girl, but you just have to think about it and think about, we always talk about be real. People are drawn to being real. I think sometimes we take that and run with it.
Yeah, the wrong direction.
Yeah, it is what it is, and you don't pitch a fit. This is who I am, and this is how I feel. It's like, well, be yourself, but be your best self, as the saying goes.
Yeah. Be the self that God wants
There's
you to
a
be.
balance there too, be real,
Uh-huh.
unless that ends up making somebody
Hmm.
else's life unpleasant.
I'm digging for a cough drop now.
Okay.
Sorry.
And
That
what
every,
time is it where you are? I
it
know we
is
started early today because you're
4:30.
several
Yeah, we
hours
need to
ahead of
wrap up.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. John, I'm sure, is tapping his foot outside the door and I can't find a cough drop. So
Okay.
anyway, you have anything good for me or some good gossip?
I didn't even think about it. I'm sorry.
I have something good for you.
Good, good.
It is something fun. There's a store here. I think we went to it when you were here. I don't even know how to say. It's Pylones over in Termini Station, and they have fun little gifts. And this,
Oh, how cute.
isn't that cute? They're
Mhm.
little tongs. And so anybody could use little tongs for my purpose. So this is, if for those of you who are like me and don't like getting your fingers dirty when you have cheeps.
Jeeps?
So like Cheetos, and I don't eat Cheetos very often or Doritos, but when I do not like getting that dust on my fingers. So these little things will grab them for you. You're welcome. See?
It's cute and bougie all at the same time.
I know it's dumb. And really, I didn't have it in mind for something good for you, but I was looking around the room thinking, well, I might as well share that because it's cute and it's useful.
Yeah, you're adorable.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Well,
It
it
did
has
make me
been
think of something though that my sister sent me that would be a something good for you. So I'll try and remember to share that next week because I want to be able to show it when I talk about
okay.
it.
Okay. And I will be home next week, Lord willing,
Yay!
not talking with food in my mouth.
Yeah. Well, when this
We'll be
airs
on the
on
same time zone.
Monday, you'll be in the middle of traveling.
We don't leave till
You're
Tuesday.
doing it all on Monday.
Yes.
Okay. So you get home on Tuesday, but you also don't leave till Tuesday because it goes
Right.
backwards. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, you
So
gain
this
time
airs on
coming back.
Monday. So everybody listening, pray for them and their safe travels home the next
Yeah.
day.
Not just safe, but uneventful, please.
That's what I meant. Uneventful.
It's very important to me.
That's right.
Thank you. All right.
See,
It's
you don't
been
want to just
fun.
arrive alive, folks.
No. I mean, I arrived alive at the in the elevator, but it wasn't any fun at
No.
all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't want to do anything, no. Okay, it's been fun. It's been good conversation.
Mm.
I miss you. I'm ready to be home so that
We're
we can
ready.
have our longer conversations on the front end and
I know.
lots to catch up on.
Yes.
But I told you the really important stuff, so we're good.
Which you
Brain
didn't
dead
share.
still. Sorry. All right, until next time.
Keep looking up, no
All
matter where
right.
you.
Yeah. Love you. See you soon.